Have you ever truly looked at the people around you and asked yourself what they want from you? Not what they say they want, but what they actually want. Most people never dare to ask this question because the answer is uncomfortable. The truth is that much of what we call friendship, loyalty, even love, is built on expectations, demands, unspoken bargains. From the moment you step into the world, you are taught to be pleasing, to be predictable, to be useful. But usefulness is a currency, and like all currency, it is spent. The danger I want you to see before it destroys you is this: you will be used up and discarded the moment you are no longer convenient. That is the unvarnished reality of human relationships when left unexamined. You think you are in control because you give, you serve, you say yes, but in truth, you have surrendered all control the moment you allow your value to be determined by others. Consider how often you've been told that being agreeable is a virtue. They call it kindness, empathy, emotional intelligence. But what they really mean is obedience. They want you predictable. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. They react the same way every time. Praise them and they will follow you. Threaten them and they will obey. Withdraw affection and they will chase you. If you want to understand power, you need to understand this: the people who present themselves as harmless are often the most dangerous. Not because they will attack you openly, but because they will drain you without you noticing. They will push you to abandon your own interests in favor of theirs and call it love. They will demand your loyalty while offering none in return, and they will call you selfish the moment you begin to question it. Let me ask you directly, when was the last time you said no and meant it? When was the last time you held your silence instead of explaining yourself? Do you even remember? The world doesn't want you to be silent. It wants you talking, confessing, apologizing, justifying. Because every word you speak is data. Every confession is a vulnerability revealed. The more you explain, the more predictable you become, and predictability is a blueprint for manipulation. That is why the most dangerous people are not those who shout threats, but those who smile while they study you, those who praise you while they memorize your weaknesses, the people who call you friend while they evaluate your usefulness. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that human nature is not evil by design, but selfish by instinct. If you do not master this truth, you will be mastered by it. There is a reason the ancients taught the value of silence. It is not cowardice to hold your tongue. It is strategy, because silence forces the other to reveal themselves. When you do not react, you create a void they will rush to fill. They will tell you everything you need to know about their motives, their fears, their expectations. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. True power is calm, watchful, deliberate. It does not need to announce itself because it knows exactly when to strike. Ask yourself, why do you feel so compelled to react? Why do you feel the need to correct every misunderstanding, defend every choice, justify every boundary? It is because you have been trained to fear rejection more than you value self-respect. You have been conditioned to see disagreement as danger. But disagreement is only dangerous if you lack the strength to stand alone. The most effective form of control is not force, but dependency. Understand this well. When someone makes you dependent on their approval, they own you. They don't need to chain you. They don't need to threaten you. All they need is your fear of losing them. That fear will keep you obedient. It will make you betray your own interests. It will make you apologize for having needs. It will make you beg for crumbs of affection. And worst of all, it will make you predictable. Predictable people are easy to discard because they are easy to replace. The antidote to this is not arrogance but self-sufficiency. The willingness to walk away, the refusal to explain, the calm certainty that you do not need to be understood to be right. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. This is clarity. So I want you to think, deeply and honestly, who benefits from your compliance? Who profits from your predictability? Who grows stronger when you hesitate? Who grows weaker when you say no? These are the people who will call you difficult when you set a boundary. They will call you selfish when you withdraw your energy. They will accuse you of changing when you finally refuse to be controlled. And they will do so with tears in their eyes, with righteous indignation, with moral arguments designed to make you question yourself. Because they know that if they can keep you explaining, they can keep you under control. But the moment you embrace silence, the moment you choose to be unavailable, you shatter their strategy. They can no longer predict you. They can no longer manipulate you. Human relationships are battlegrounds of influence, even when no one admits it. Every interaction is a negotiation. The question is whether you are aware of the terms. Most people are not. They barter away their time, their peace, their self-respect without even realizing it. They think they are buying love, acceptance, security. In truth, they are buying approval at the cost of their own freedom. Machiavelli did not sugarcoat this. He warned that people will always choose themselves first, and so should you. Not out of malice, but out of necessity, because no one will value what you do not value yourself. No one will respect boundaries you do not enforce. No one will protect the peace you will not guard. If you want loyalty, start by being loyal to yourself. And so I ask you, with all the seriousness this question deserves, are you prepared to be unpopular in the name of self-respect? Are you willing to be called cruel for protecting your peace? Are you ready to lose those who only loved you for what you could offer? Because this is the true cost of freedom. It is not comfortable. It is not easy. It is not warm or reassuring, but it is real. And in that reality you will find a kind of power that cannot be taken from you, because it is built not on the shifting approval of others, but on the unshakable foundation of self-mastery. So pay attention, watch carefully, spot this danger before it destroys you, because once you see it, you can never unsee it, and that is the beginning of your liberation. Most people will never tell you this, but I will. Your willingness to react is the leash they hold around your neck. They don't need to shout commands, they just need to know which words provoke you. Anger, guilt, fear, obligation. These are the tools of subtle control. They test you constantly. A small insult here, a dismissive gesture there, a question that challenges your worth. And you, eager to prove yourself, take the bait every time. You react exactly as they want, showing them the map of your insecurities. The danger lies not in the open attacks you see coming, but in these quiet provocations that seem harmless at first. Because by the time you realize you are being controlled, you will have already given them the blueprint to your mind. Ask yourself why you explain so much. Why you feel compelled to justify even the smallest choices. Why silence feels like failure. The truth is you were trained for this. From childhood you were taught that love is conditional on good behavior, that approval must be earned with obedience, that peace depends on your ability to smooth things over. You learned to trade authenticity for acceptance, truth for harmony, and so you became predictable, easy to read, easy to manage. This is not your fault. It is how societies function, by producing compliant, reactive individuals who can be counted on to keep the peace even at the cost of their own dignity. But you must see it for what it is if you ever hope to break free. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Modern minds recoil at this, imagining tyrants and cruelty. But fear in this context is not about threats or violence. It is about unpredictability. It is the knowledge that you will not be easily moved, that your response cannot be guaranteed, that you are not dependent on their approval. That is what people truly fear, losing their ability to control you. When they know you will not always say yes, that you will not beg to be understood, that you can and will walk away, they begin to respect you, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Predictability breeds contempt. Unpredictability demands respect. Think of how many arguments you've had that were never about the topic, but about control. How many times has someone picked a fight just to get a reaction? They don't want resolution. They want evidence that you still care enough to defend yourself. Your anger, your justifications, your explanations, all of it feeds them. Because as long as you are reacting, they know they still have power over you. But when you stop explaining, when you hold your silence, when you refuse to play, you rob them of their weapon. Your unavailability becomes a mirror they cannot stand to face. It forces them to confront the reality that they cannot move you like a puppet, and that realization terrifies them. You may think silence is weakness, but it is the strongest position you can hold, because it requires mastery over yourself. Anyone can react, anyone can shout back, but to remain calm, to say nothing, to choose your moment, that is power. Silence is not the absence of strategy, it is strategy in its purest form. It forces the other side to reveal themselves while you remain hidden. It unsettles them, draws out their insecurities, exposes their dependence on your reactions. And in that space you can see them clearly, without the distortions of emotion. You can choose whether to engage or to withdraw entirely. You reclaim your energy, your time, your sovereignty. But do not think for a moment this path will be easy. You will be accused of being cold, arrogant, unfeeling. People will tell you you've changed, and they will not mean it as a compliment. They will push harder, provoke more, escalate their tactics to make you break your silence. They will cry, threaten, guilt trip, anything to get you back into the predictable role you used to play. This is the price of freedom. The moment you stop being useful in the way they want, they will try to redefine you as cruel. They want you to fear that label. They want you to abandon your boundaries to prove them wrong. Do not. Let them think what they will. Their opinion is not your obligation. I want you to remember this. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you teach them how to use you. Every time you rush to explain, you give them another lever to pull. Every time you react without thinking, you hand over your power. The first step to reclaiming it is to pause, to hold the silence, to let discomfort do its work. It will feel unnatural. It will feel wrong. It will feel like you are risking everything. That is because you are. You are risking the old self, the compliant self, the easy-to-control self, and in its place you are building something unbreakable, a self that answers to no one but itself. So I ask you now, can you handle being misunderstood? Can you accept being called selfish for putting yourself first? Can you endure the loss of those who only valued you for your compliance? Because that is the test. Machiavelli would tell you that the strength of a ruler is not in being loved, but in being respected. And respect begins with the willingness to be disliked. It begins with the courage to hold your ground when every voice demands you move. It begins with silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of strategy, the refusal to be baited, the commitment to respond only when it serves you. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. This is power. There is something deeply unsettling about someone who does not rush to speak, who does not scramble to justify themselves, who does not react on command. It unsettles people because it breaks the unspoken contract of social compliance. We live in a world that rewards immediacy, immediate answers, immediate availability, immediate validation. They want you to answer now, decide now, give now. Because the faster you move, the less you think. And when you don't think, you become easy to control. Machiavelli knew that the true art of strategy lies in patience, in resisting the impulse to act before the time is right. He would tell you that silence is not just an absence of noise, but an accumulation of power, a coiling of the spring. It is the space in which your enemies reveal themselves while you remain hidden. Consider how often you have sabotaged yourself by reacting too quickly. How often have you said yes because you were afraid of seeming rude? How often have you explained yourself to people who never deserved an answer? How many times have you exposed your plans, your fears, your vulnerabilities to those who later used them against you? This is not accidental. This is the result of conditioning. You were taught that being open is virtuous, that being transparent is noble, that being agreeable is the price of belonging. But no one told you the cost, that the more you reveal, the less power you hold. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to replace. The more agreeable you are, the less respected you become. It is not cruelty to hold your tongue. It is survival. Because there are people who see your openness not as a gift but as an opportunity. They listen not to understand, but to catalog. They praise your honesty while memorizing your weak points. They encourage you to vent so they can map your mind. And when the time comes, they will use that map to move you exactly where they want you. This is not paranoia. This is realism. Machiavelli would say that you must assume others will act in their own interest. That is not cynicism. That is preparation. Because once you accept this, you stop offering your vulnerabilities as gifts to those who see them as weapons. The hardest lesson you will ever learn is this. You owe no one your inner world. Not your fears, not your plans, not your doubts. The idea that you must confess everything to be real is a lie sold to you by those who benefit from your transparency. You can be honest without being open. You can be kind without being available. You can love without being controlled. The difference is boundaries. Boundaries enforced not with anger or explanation, but with calm certainty. The refusal to explain is not rudeness, it is mastery. Because the moment you explain, you begin to negotiate. And negotiation is often just another name for surrender. They will call you guarded. Let them. They will say you've changed. Good. They will accuse you of being distant. Better. Because what they really mean is you've become unpredictable. And unpredictable people cannot be controlled. They don't know if you will say yes or no. They don't know if you will respond at all. And that uncertainty robs them of their advantage. Predictability is safety for them. It is a danger for you. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. In modern terms, this means it is better to be respected for your boundaries than liked for your compliance. It is better to be seen as difficult than to be seen as weak. Think of the times you have tried to save relationships by giving in. How you have tried to prove you were good by accepting disrespect. How you have tried to maintain peace by abandoning yourself. Did it work? Or did it just teach them that you would always bend, that you would always return, that you could be counted on to betray yourself for their comfort? The truth is ugly but simple. The more you give without limits, the less they value you. Because people do not respect what is always available. They respect what is scarce, and nothing is more scarce, more valuable than self-respect. You will feel guilty at first. You will feel cruel. That is the cost of unlearning obedience. You will question yourself. You will wonder if you are losing good people, and perhaps you will. But understand this. Anyone who abandons you because you refuse to be controlled was never with you to begin with. They were with the version of you that served them. The role you played, not the person you are. When you stop playing the role, they will leave. Let them. Because in their place, you will find people who value your truth, not your compliance, who respect your silence, not your justifications, who love you without demanding you abandon yourself. So I ask you now, seriously, brutally, can you endure being alone rather than being used? Can you handle the silence that comes when you refuse to react? Can you stand firm while the world accuses you of being selfish? This is the trial by fire, the moment where you decide whether your peace is worth the loss of their approval, whether your dignity is worth their misunderstanding, whether your truth is worth their anger. Machiavelli would tell you that power does not belong to those who are loved most, but to those who need love the least, not because they are heartless, but because they cannot be threatened with its withdrawal. That is freedom. That is the goal. The world will do everything it can to convince you that being agreeable is the highest virtue. It will reward you for saying yes, for being available, for offering yourself without limit. You will be praised for being easygoing, for avoiding conflict, for making others comfortable, even at the cost of your own discomfort. And for a time, it will feel good. You will feel needed. You will feel valued. But pay close attention to the nature of that value. It is conditional. It lasts only as long as you fulfill their expectations. The moment you say no, the moment you set a boundary, the moment you put yourself first, watch how quickly that praise turns to criticism, how affection becomes resentment. This is the danger you must see before it consumes you. Machiavelli warned that people are not grateful for favors. They are resentful of debts. They may thank you when you serve them, but they will despise you for reminding them of their dependence. This is why the helper is often betrayed first. You think you are earning loyalty by giving, but you are simply creating obligation, and obligation breeds resentment. Understand this, no one likes to feel controlled, even by kindness. When you are always available, always helpful, always sacrificing, you think you are securing their love, but you are in fact teaching them to see you as a tool. And tools are not loved, they are used. And when they break or stop being useful, they are discarded without a second thought. You need to see how this dynamic is not just personal but universal. It is how power operates at every level. The king who is too generous is overthrown by his grateful subjects. The leader who is too forgiving is disrespected by his followers. The lover who is too eager is abandoned by the one they adore. Why? Because abundance without cost breeds contempt. Predictability kills desire. Unconditional availability destroys respect. Machiavelli understood that scarcity creates value. That fear, healthy fear, not terror, is essential to maintaining power. Not because you should harm others, but because you must make clear that you cannot be used without consequence. And what is the simplest, most effective way to do this? Silence. Withdrawal. The refusal to react. When someone insults you and you respond with anger, you show them the button they can press at will. When they guilt you and you justify yourself, you show them that you fear their disapproval. When they demand an explanation and you give it, you teach them that you are accountable to them. Silence breaks this chain. Silence is unsettling because it cannot be controlled. It denies them the reaction they crave, the evidence they need to judge you, the weakness they hope to exploit. It creates a void they are forced to fill with their own discomfort, their own doubt. But do not misunderstand me. Silence is not passivity. It is not surrender. It is not weakness. Silence is a weapon. It is the art of making the other reveal themselves while you remain concealed. It is the choice to hold your ground without flinching, to let their provocatusum die in the empty space between you. It forces them to question their approach, to reconsider their tactics, to wonder what you truly think, and in that uncertainty lies your advantage. Because people fear what they cannot predict. They respect what they cannot move. They are cautious with those they cannot read. Machiavelli would call this mastery over appearances, the control of perception. And in a world that runs on manipulation, perception is everything. Ask yourself, how often have you given away your power with your words? How many secrets have you shared with those who did not deserve them? How many times have you betrayed your own convictions to avoid an argument? How much energy have you spent explaining yourself to those who were never going to understand? This is the drain that leaves you exhausted, resentful, empty, and worse, it teaches others that your boundaries are negotiable, that your values are for sale, that your loyalty can be purchased with the cheapest currency, approval. If you want to change this, you must stop giving away what should be earned. Your time, your energy, your truth. They will not like this version of you. The one who pauses before responding. The one who does not justify every decision. The one who says no without explanation. They will say you are arrogant, that you are cold, that you have lost your heart, but they will be lying. What you will have lost is your leash. You will no longer be the easy mark, the reliable savior, the predictable servant, and those who thrived on your compliance will either adapt or disappear. Let them, because the people who remain will be those who see you clearly and respect you for who you are, not what you can do for them. Machiavelli would tell you that power is not about dominating others with cruelty, but about refusing to be dominated with kindness. It is about seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. It is about understanding that while humans crave love, they respect boundaries more. They will test you, they will push you, they will try to guilt you back into your old patterns. Hold the silence, hold the line. Let them call you selfish if it means you can finally belong to yourself. Because in the end, the one relationship you cannot afford to betray is the one you have with your own integrity. The one person you must never lie to is yourself. So I ask you again, are you prepared to watch the disappointed faces of those who once cheered your compliance? Are you ready to accept the anger of those who only valued you for what you gave? Can you stand firm in your refusal to be predictable, even when it costs you approval, affection, connection? This is not a path for the weak. It is not for those who need to be loved at all costs. It is for those who would rather be alone than be used, for those who value respect over popularity, for those who understand that true freedom begins the moment you stop explaining yourself. Most will never admit it, but they want you compliant. They want you soft enough to mold, eager enough to serve, predictable enough to exploit. Society doesn't praise your strength unless it serves its needs. It teaches you to compromise in the name of harmony, to explain in the name of understanding, to yield in the name of love. And so you become a diplomat in your own life, endlessly negotiating your boundaries away to keep the peace. But Machiavelli would warn you, peace purchased at the price of self-betrayal is no peace at all. It is a temporary ceasefire that ensures you will be conquered later when you are too weak to resist. Ask yourself, how much of your exhaustion comes not from what you do, but from what you tolerate? How many nights have you lost sleep over words you regret, not because they were cruel, but because they were too accommodating? How many times have you smiled when you wanted to scream, said yes when you meant no, explained yourself to people who had no right to question you? This is the hidden tax of being agreeable. It drains your energy, fractures your identity, and leaves you resentful. But even worse, it teaches others that you do not value yourself, and no one will value you more than you do. They will test you, always. They will push to see how far you bend before you break. They will compliment your generosity while quietly measuring its limits. And the first time you say no, they will look at you with surprise, even outrage. How dare you change the terms of a deal they never had to sign? This is the turning point, the moment where you either retreat in guilt or stand firm in silence. Understand this, the strength to hold a boundary without explaining it is rare. It is the mark of someone who knows their worth. It unsettles people because it cannot be negotiated. It forces them to accept you on your terms or not at all. Machiavelli would say, that those who cannot be threatened with loss cannot be controlled. That is why silence is so powerful. Not because it avoids conflict, but because it refuses to feed it. It does not justify, it does not defend, it does not flinch, it simply is. Silence is an assertion of sovereignty. It says, I do not owe you my reaction, I do not owe you my thoughts, I do not owe you my energy. And that truth terrifies those who depend on your compliance. They will accuse you of cruelty, but what they really mean is they can no longer use you. And let's be clear, they will escalate. The jokes that used to sting will become barbs meant to provoke. The guilt trips will intensify. The emotional blackmail will grow more desperate. They will remind you of all you've done for them, as if your past kindness obligates your future obedience. This is not love. This is not loyalty. This is accounting. Keeping a ledger of your compliance so they can call in the debt when it suits them. When you hold your silence, you burn that ledger. You declare bankruptcy on their emotional economy, and they will hate you for it because it means they can no longer collect. But what about you? Are you prepared to endure this backlash? Are you ready to lose those who only stayed because you were easy? This is the price no one warns you about. The cost of freedom is loss. Loss of false friends. Loss of fragile alliances. Loss of approval from those who never truly respected you. Machiavelli understood that ruling requires accepting the hatred of some, not because you seek it, but because you refuse to buy peace with your own subjugation. He would tell you that it is better to be feared than loved when love is conditional on obedience. There is nothing noble in being a martyr for someone else's comfort. There is no virtue in silencing your own truth to keep others from feeling discomfort. The world will lie to you and call this maturity, call it empathy, call it love. But true empathy does not require self-betrayal. True love does not demand you erase yourself. And true maturity is knowing when to say, enough, when to stop negotiating, when to stop explaining, when to sit in the silence and let them wrestle with their own disappointment. So I want you to look at your life honestly. Who demands your explanations? Who questions your every no? Who benefits from your guilt? Who grows stronger when you say yes against your will? These are not your allies. These are your handlers. They will not clap when you find your voice. They will not cheer when you set your boundary. They will mourn the loss of their control. Let them. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to be true to yourself. Machiavelli would say that you must be willing to be misjudged if you hope to remain free. Can you do it? Can you hold your silence while they accuse you? Can you keep your boundaries without writing them an essay to justify your right to exist? Can you let them call you selfish, cold, arrogant, and not flinch? This is not about shutting the world out. It is about choosing when, where, and with whom you share yourself. It is about recognizing that your energy is not infinite, and those who treat it as such are not entitled to it. Silence is the gatekeeper of your soul. Use it well. Let it filter out those who see you as a resource instead of a person. There comes a moment when you realize that no amount of explaining will ever convince those committed to misunderstanding you. You will see it in their eyes. The refusal to hear, the eagerness to twist your words, the satisfaction they take in your discomfort. This is when silence becomes not only a strategy but a necessity, because there is nothing to negotiate with someone who benefits from your confusion. There is nothing to discuss with someone who wants you off balance. Machiavelli would tell you that the wise ruler does not hold court with rebels. He crushes the rebellion by denying it fuel, and so you must learn to deny your detractors the one thing they crave most, your reaction. Your silence will provoke them more than any insult ever could, because it is in silence that they must face themselves. When you do not rush to justify, they are forced to sit with the possibility that they are wrong. When you do not rise to their bait, they are left with their own insecurities echoing in the void. Silence is a mirror they cannot shatter. It reflects their manipulations back at them, and this is why it is hated. Because it strips away the theater of blame and demands they confront the truth, or walk away. Either outcome is a victory for you. But understand this, silence is not just for them, it is for you. It is the space where you reclaim your energy, gather your thoughts, choose your battles. In silence you find the clarity that chaos seeks to destroy. It is where you remember who you are, when no one is demanding you be someone else. It is where you find the strength to say no without a trembling voice, to walk away without leaving your self-respect behind. To choose solitude over servitude, silence is the workshop of self-mastery. It is where you cease being a puppet pulled by the strings of others' expectations and become the author of your own fate. And yet, this path is not comfortable. It will cost you. People will leave. Some will not recognize you anymore. They will say you are not the person they knew, and they will be right. Because the person they knew was easy. The person they knew explained everything. The person they knew was predictable. That version of you died the moment you chose your own peace over their approval. Grieve it if you must, but do not resurrect it, because the life that follows is one built on authenticity, on respect earned, not demanded, on love freely given, not bartered for compliance. Machiavelli would tell you that all alliances are conditional, that loyalty is secured not through gifts or pleading, but through strength and consistency. Your silence is the promise of that consistency. It tells the world, I will not betray myself to keep you. It is the quiet declaration that you know your worth and will not auction it to the highest bidder. And those who remain in your life will be those who respect this, who see your silence not as rejection but as integrity, who understand that true intimacy does not require constant explanation but trust in your choices. I want you to imagine a life where you are no longer haunted by the need to be understood by everyone, where you do not rehearse conversations in your head trying to find the perfect defense, where you do not lie awake at night wondering if you offended someone with your honesty. Imagine the freedom of simply being, of saying no without guilt, of leaving without drama, of standing in your truth without apology. That life is possible, but only if you stop paying the price of admission with your soul. Only if you refuse to buy love with your silence and sell your peace for approval. So I ask you, one final time, are you ready to let go of the need to be liked? Are you prepared to lose the shallow bonds that depended on your compliance? Can you accept the loneliness that comes with integrity, knowing it will be replaced by the company of those who truly see you? This is the true cost of freedom. It is not given, it is chosen, it is defended, it is earned through the willingness to stand alone rather than kneel together. Machiavelli would not comfort you with false hope. He would not tell you this path is easy, but he would say it is the only path worth taking if you wish to rule your own life. Because in the end, there is no greater power than to belong wholly to yourself, to know that your yes means something because your no is real, to know that your silence is not emptiness but potential, that it is not surrender but sovereignty. The world may never applaud you for this. It may fear you, resent you, misunderstand you. Let it. Your task is not to be loved by all, but to be owned by none. Remember this as you move forward. Every time you choose silence over reaction, every time you choose solitude over compromise, every time you choose self-respect over acceptance, you are building a kingdom within that no one can conquer. If you've made it this far, it's because a part of you is already prepared to choose a different path. A part of you knows that being accepted means nothing if you have to betray yourself to earn it. True self-respect begins the moment you decide to stand alone, if that's what it takes to be honest with yourself. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even resented for protecting your peace? Are you willing to pay the price of being unapologetically you? If this message spoke to you, if it made sense, write in the comments, I choose my freedom. Let's see how many here are truly ready to make that choice. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It matters more than you think. See you there.